Okay, so in a lot of EB-5 projects, we're hearing about bridge financing. Can you kind of explain what it is and how it works in terms of EB-5?
Absolutely. When you go to the earlier days of EB-5, a lot of these projects were 100% EB-5 financed. And so development moved at the pace that you were able to raise capital. As we move forward in time in the EB-5 program, there were a lot of developers that came in and they had a development schedule that did not necessarily match up with how long it takes to raise EB-5 capital. So an example would be you have permits that are going to expire in 1 or 2 years, and you need to go vertical before those permits expire. You may not be able to raise all the EB-5 to go vertical in that 1 or 2 year time. So USCIS came up with this concept that's called bridge financing. It's actually detailed in the May 2013 EB-5 policy memorandum. And what it essentially says is we understand the process of raising capital can be timely. If you as a developer, as a project, as a job creator need to move faster than you can raise capital, you are able to take on what is called bridge financing. Bridge is defined as short-term debt or equity, typically 1 or 2 years, that you can take on to move forward in the project and then replace that money with EB-5 funds. If you do that, EB-5 investors will still be given job credit creation for their investment, even though it was the bridge funds that allowed the project to move forward, begin construction, and create the jobs.
And do EB-5 investors get job credit even if the money is being used to replace bridge financing long after the project is completed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, investors typically think of a job creation window, that the jobs for their application need to be created sometime after the 526 is filed, and then maybe before it is approved, or maybe during the conditional green card it needs to be approved. Some of that is true in the world of direct investments, but when we're talking about regional centers and bridge financing, that is actually not true. When a developer has contemplated using EB-5 funds to replace bridge debt or equity, the regulations very clearly state that EB-5 investors will be credited with these jobs. The rise of bridge projects is actually a safer opportunity for EB-5 investors because as these projects are going through construction, are going vertical, they create hundreds, if not thousands of jobs. Those jobs are considered permanently created, and they are waiting there for EB-5 investors to claim them, rather than requiring the EB-5 projects to create the jobs during some sort of timeline that is specific to the investor's I-526 filing. For a project that is near complete or is already complete, this becomes a little bit of a work for your attorney because you need to see when did the bridge money come in. If the bridge money came in 7 years ago and the developer is now trying to replace that 7-year-old money with EB-5, that's probably not going to work because that's beyond the definition of 1 to 2 years of bridge. But if the money had come in the last 18 months and that's how they were able to finish the building, then you could look at replacing that money with EB-5.
And from a USCIS adjudicator's point of view, is it a simpler case if we show that the EB-5 investor funds are going just directly to pay construction costs while projects in process versus replacement of bridge financing a couple years later?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. USCIS has this standard for approving projects called shovel ready. And shovel ready means, you are actually ready to break ground in the near future. When you look at bridge projects and when we file for project approval, there's no gaps in the filing. So I would say one of the common RFEs you would see from a USCIS adjudicator on a project is, show us your permits and licenses. Show us your lease for the building. Show us that you've already secured financing. So these are RFEs that you would get, and then the project would need to provide, and you're delaying approval of the project and then delaying investor approval, 3, 6, 9 months, depending on how quickly the developer can provide the documents and USCIS can approve. These bridge projects, they're complete. Every single document that USCIS could ask for is already included as part of the project filing, the 956F, just simply because the project is really mature. So the analysis for a USCIS adjudicator is looking over these bridge funds, ensuring that they are actually bridge, and then that's when they can move to a quick approval. So I have to assume that EB-5 adjudicators would prefer this. It's just a much more mature project. It's much more certainty for an adjudicator, much more certainty for an EB-5 investor.